You know that person in your life. On the surface, they're your biggest fan. They say all the right things, but there's this little voice in the back of your head, a gut feeling you just can't shake, telling you it's all an act. That feeling? It isn't paranoia. It's pattern recognition. Your brain is picking up on tiny inconsistencies that your conscious mind might be trying to ignore just to keep the peace. When what someone says and what they do don't line up, it creates this kind of psychological friction, a deep sense of unease you can't quite put your finger on. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the 7 subtle signs that prove your intuition is spot on, and we'll show you exactly what's hiding behind that mask. These behaviors aren't just weird quirks, they're patterns that are usually rooted in deep insecurity, a desperate need to be liked, or in some cases, a flat-out strategy of manipulation. Figuring this out isn't about judging them, it's about protecting your own energy and making room for real, genuine connections. We'll break down not just what they do, but the psychology behind why they do it, so you can finally spot the performance and trust what your gut's been telling you all along. The first and most telling sign of a fake person is a huge gap between what they say and what they do. They're the friend who swears they'll help you move, but then their phone mysteriously dies on moving day. They're the partner who talks a big game about loyalty, but whose actions always seem to put their own interests first. Here's the psychology behind it. Their promises aren't about intent. They're tools used in the moment to make you see them a certain way. They say what you want to hear to get your approval or to calm down a tense situation. But when it's time to actually follow through, a totally different calculation takes over, one that's all about their own convenience. It's a classic case of cognitive dissonance. The image they have of themselves as a good, reliable person is constantly at war with their self-serving actions. Here's a perfect example. A coworker is super enthusiastic about collaborating on a big project. They praise your ideas and promise to split the work 50-50. But as the deadline gets closer, they start missing meetings, turn in their part late, and leave you scrambling to pick up the slack. Then, once the project is a success, they magically reappear, ready to take a bow and accept their share of the credit. This isn't just being flaky. It's strategic unreliability. Their follow-through depends entirely on what benefits them, which proves their promises are just currency, not real commitments. Have you ever met someone who seems like a completely different person depending on the room they're in? Around their boss, they're eager and full of praise. With their friends, they're sarcastic and rebellious. In a group they want to impress, they're suddenly loud, charismatic, and the center of attention. This isn't just being socially savvy, it's a red flag that there's no solid core self in there. This behavior, known as impression management, usually comes from a deep-seated insecurity and a total reliance on what other people think of them. They don't have a strong inner compass, so they just mirror the attitudes, opinions, and even the mannerisms of whoever they think has the most social power in that moment. Their personality isn't authentic. It's a character curated to be liked, accepted, or even feared, depending on their goal. Think about that person who posts passionately about social justice online and gets tons of praise for their activism. But in private, you hear them make dismissive jokes about the very groups they claim to support. Or that friend who's your biggest cheerleader one-on-one, but acts distant and even critical of you when their cooler friends are around. The mask slips the moment you see their values and persona change to fit the audience. Real empathy is felt. Fake empathy is displayed. Inauthentic people are masters of performative compassion. When you're going through a crisis, they might post a long, dramatic tribute on social media about how much they care, racking up likes and sympathetic comments. But when you actually text them for support, you get a short, generic reply, or just silence.
Their emotional display was for the audience, not for you. They've learned the script for what empathy looks like, but they don't have the ability to actually feel it. Psychologically, it's a shortcut to seem like a good person without doing any of the real emotional work. Their compliments often work the same way. They're transactional. Pay very close attention to how someone talks about people who aren't in the room. Fake people often use gossip as their main tool for bonding. It creates a false sense of intimacy, making you feel special, like you're in their inner circle because they're sharing a secret with you. But this is a massive red flag. The psychology here is usually rooted in low self-esteem and envy. By talking badly about someone else, they instantly elevate themselves in comparison and build a temporary team based on shared criticism. It's a form of covert rivalry. You'll notice the spotlight always seems to find its way back to them. You could be sharing a personal struggle, and they'll quickly cut in with their own story that's somehow way more dramatic. You might share a small win, and they'll immediately one-up you with a bigger, better achievement. They are attention vacuums who see conversations not as a place to connect, but as a stage to perform. Their sense of self is so weak that it needs constant praise from the outside to survive.
One of the fastest ways to see behind the mask is to watch how they treat people who they think can do nothing for them. Pay attention to how they act with servers, junior employees, or anyone they see as below them on the social ladder. Inauthentic people are often social climbers who live by a strict, unspoken hierarchy. They will be incredibly charming and respectful to someone with high status, but that same person might be rude or condescending to a waiter, a janitor, or an assistant. The final sign is their almost allergic reaction to accountability and emotional vulnerability. When you confront them about a mistake or something they did that hurt you, they won't give you a real apology. Instead, you'll get a non-apology. They also avoid any conversation that requires deep emotional honesty. If you try to talk about your feelings or dig into a meaningful topic, they get visibly uncomfortable, change the subject, or give you a shallow platitude. So what do? Recognizing these signs isn't about starting a fight or calling everyone out. It's a quiet and confident call to protect your own peace. The most powerful thing you can do is create distance. Stop sharing personal information with them. Set firm boundaries and watch how they react. Ultimately, your intuition is your best guide. That drained, confused, or invisible feeling you get after hanging out with someone, that's a signal. It's your internal alarm system telling you that you're in the presence of a performance, not a person. Trust that feeling. The more you learn to spot these 7 signs, the less power these masks will have over you. You'll start building a life filled not with an audience for a performance, but with real connections that nurture your true self. If any of this resonated with you, please subscribe for more insights into psychology and personal growth. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 7 signs have you seen the most in your life? Sharing our stories helps us all feel a little less alone. Remember, your clarity is your power.